This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
It is December 17th, officially 34 days till Donald Trump takes the reins from Joe Biden. But I think today we have to make an adjustment here. We have to drop the countdown. I know we've been doing it every day for weeks now, counting down till we get our country back. But something happened yesterday, something very stark and obvious. Trump became president yesterday. Donald Trump once again returned to the office of the presidency, and Joe Biden just kind of faded away. Let's be honest. Trump has already taken office. Trump is already calling the shots. He's down in Mar-a-Lago. He hasn't returned to the White House, but he's entertaining world leaders down there. He's entertaining titans of industry. He's having dinner with the head of Pfizer and the head of Eli Whitney and the head of all the major corporations are going down there. Jeff Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos is heading there this week to kiss the ring, to make amends. These are people who despised Trump 8 years ago, the first time he took office. And yesterday he gave a press conference, and it was a real press conference. He made a statement, and then he took questions for 70 minutes. He answered 33 questions, which I'm pretty sure is more questions, more unscripted questions than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris has given in 4 years. The last Joe Biden press conference was July 11th. Before, in that press conference, he said, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm in the race. I'm in the fight," and then withdrew a couple days later. That's the last time you heard the president, the alleged president, the sitting president take any questions. Kamala Harris, in 4 years, has never done a press conference on American soil, a solo press conference. The candidate for president never held a press conference, and we saw why yesterday. Because you have to think on your feet. You have to be fearless. Trump took questions from some friendly reporters, and he also took hostile questions from the adversarial members of the media. And I assume he will continue to do that. And while he sits down there trying to end wars and get hostages back and fix the economy, the mess Joe Biden has left him with, while he was down there, Joe Biden was once again nowhere to be found. Oh, I'm sorry. He did. Joe Biden did make a brief appearance before the cameras. Can you grab Joe Biden yesterday? Let's hear from our sitting president, who has 34 days to run the country, to lead the free world. Here is your sitting president yesterday. Go ahead.
Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold.
A little bit of a cold. The man has had a cold for 4 years. Every time he speaks, he's coughing and hacking and mumbling and telling you, just a little bit of a cold. That was Joe Biden yesterday. Now let's get to Donald Trump yesterday in Palm Beach, taking all questions from all comers, fearless. He started the press conference talking about the investment that SoftBank is making in the American economy. The CEO of SoftBank said he was going to give $100 billion, invest $100 billion and create 100,000 really good jobs. This is the biggest hedge fund in the world in terms of tech. And he's coming to America because of Trump. Trump, of course, pressured him in real time to double the donation or double the investment, make it $200 million. And the poor little guy had no choice. He just said, "Yeah, I'm going to try. We'll see if we can get it done." And he just laughed and said, Trump is a great negotiator. And he is. That's what Trump does. That's what people don't understand. The reason Trump is not a warmonger, the reason he's not anxious to advance, escalate the war in Ukraine or the war in Gaza, is because he prefers to make deals. It's what he's always done. That's what he's going to do now. Before he even takes office, he promises to try to end the war in Ukraine, and I think he'll give it his best effort, despite Biden's effort to escalate the war. And we can get to the latest escalation, which is just so incredible what Joe Biden is doing, or people behind Biden. I'm not sure Biden's even aware of it, but what they're doing to escalate the war, make it more difficult for Trump to end it before he takes office or after he takes office. But he wants to make deals. He wants to make deals with people like this, the CEO of SoftBank, to get them to invest in America. He wants to make deals to end wars, to get hostages home. That's where he's focused. That's why he's not a warmonger, a war pig, like the current corpse in the White House. But Trump goes before the media and has no script, has no teleprompter, has no fear. In fact, the new Trump, and he talked about this, how now people want to be his friend. In 8 years ago, said everybody was fighting me. Everyone was trying to stop me. People like Zuckerberg and Bezos, they weren't willing to work with him. They didn't want to work with him. They had no interest. They hated him. And now they've completely changed their tune. Now it is different. And he also talked about how he knows better this time. He knows who's out to get him and who's willing to work with him. And we're going to see a different Trump, a better administration with better people, loyal people, people who are serving in the administration for the right reasons, people who aren't trying to work behind his back to undermine him, like so many of the people who were in his first administration. So he goes before the media again, just takes one question after another for 70 minutes. It was a reminder of what it's like to have a transparent administration. This is the most transparent politician in American history. He doesn't have that filter. He's not standing up there thinking, what am I supposed to say? What should I say? He just says it. That's all. You can call him, you could fact check him. You could say that's not true. That was false. But he's going to answer your questions the way he wants to answer your questions. And he's not hiding. This is so refreshing. This is how an American president is supposed to be. This is something we have not seen, not for one moment for the last 4 years. A guy who is clearly not being controlled by some dark force in the background, the way we see with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Here he is. He's getting one of the members of the media who is hoping to trip him up, get him to say something, something outrageous about Iran. This is my favorite question of the day. He's being asked, are you planning preemptive strikes on Iran? I mean, what a question. And Trump handled it perfectly. Go ahead.
Iran's nuclear
Well, I can't tell you that. I mean, it's a wonderful question, but am I going to do preemptive strikes? Why would I say that? Can you imagine if I said yes or no? You'd say, that was strange that he answered that way. Am I going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? Is that a serious question? How could I answer a question like that? Say it.
In support of Israeli strikes on Iran.
How could I tell you?
Yes, I'm planning preemptive strikes on January 27th at about 4:00. Okay, good. Any more questions? What an idiot. He was all over the place. He talked about RFK and vaccines. The media is obsessed with that now. Oh, Liz Warren said RFK is going to bring back polio. Get ready, polio's coming back. And Trump just dismissed that out of hand. He said the polio vaccine's going nowhere, of course. Talked about TikTok, January 6th. Luigi Mangione talked about pardoning Eric Adams. He talked about privatizing the post office, another great idea that you would never even think to ask Joe Biden. Does it make sense? I don't know. As Trump said over and over, we're going to look at it. Yeah, we're going to look at these. We're going to look at vaccines. We're going to study them. That's what RFK is proposing to do. Study vaccines. See if they're safe. Why do people have a problem with that? He's not going to take away vaccines. No one actually believes that, but they think that's the way to get him. Let's get RFK. They failed, or so it seems, on Pete Hegseth. Trump gave him his full backing once again. And now they're moving on to RFK, who is walking through the halls of Congress with about 50 media members dogging him, chasing him down the hall, asking him about polio and vaccines. I think they're going to come up empty on this one, too. So Trump is now essentially the sitting president. Trump is having conversations with world leaders. He said he's spoken to something like 120 world leaders since the election. Hasn't taken office yet, but he's heard from everyone. Hell, he invited Xi Jinping to the inauguration. I don't think he's coming. He didn't invite Zelensky, but said he could come if he wants. He is again doing it differently this time. He is not concerned, obviously, about running for re-election. He's not concerned about getting indicted again. He's not concerned about the FBI and the DOJ working against him. The shackles are off, and he is completely focused on success. He says it all the time. Success is my retribution. I believe that. I mean, will there be arrests of people, of his enemies? Sure. If they committed crimes, of course. Why wouldn't there be? If someone like Fauci lied under oath, of course he should be prosecuted. But that's not the agenda. The agenda is bring the country back, fix the economy, close the border, all the things he talks about all the time. That's the focus. And there's no hiding. There's no pretending. There's no telling people what they want to hear. That's not why he's here. And there was just, I mean, a lot of it is clumsy and repetitive with Trump, but that's just Trump. He's human. He's Trump. He's transparent. He is the guy you're looking at. You're not wondering, like you are with the current administration, say on the drones, are they telling me the truth? Are they hiding something? That's not the feeling you get when Trump takes 33 questions from a hostile press corps. But before we get to the latest on Joe Biden, who is no longer president, let's be honest, he's not even showing up. He's leaving today, I believe, for the beach. He and Jill are getting on the helicopter, heading to the beach for Christmas. He's got no events on his schedule. None. There's a lot going on in the world, but Joe Biden's headed for vacation. So Trump talked about lots of things. Let's get to Trump on the, what else we got? Let me see. We got the whole list here. We got drones. We want to do the drones. Let's be honest. Everybody knows. The federal government knows whose drones they are. They know what they're doing. They know where they are. They know why they're in the sky. Everyone knows that. And they send out their spokespeople like John Kirby every day. Kirby was making the rounds this morning, just lying. We know the government knows exactly what's going on, and they're not telling us. And Trump essentially confirmed that yesterday. Here he is on the mystery drones.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
We should know the
they're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
I've
decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been getting regular intelligence briefings?
So he doesn't care. There's no fear. Like, they got me this time. He doesn't care. He's saying what Biden, what Kirby, what KJP will not say. Of course the government knows. You think the government is in the dark about all these drones flying over half the country at this point. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the drones. I'm kind of sick of the drone. But that theory that made the rounds on social media, the guy he's a drone manufacturer, his theory makes the most sense to me, that the government is using these drones to try to find something. That's why they're flying at night. You don't fly at night to take pictures. You fly at night to detect something. He said maybe radiation. Maybe they're looking for some nuclear weapon that was smuggled in, or maybe they're looking for something else. I think the best explanation, this guy, Sean Davis, the editor-in-chief of the Federalist, he's a great follow on Twitter, and he writes, "Ready to have your mind blown? I know what's going on with the drones, and I will share it with you." He says, "What I'm about to reveal is the Rosetta Stone for interpreting every major news event. I will give you the secret to unlocking the mystery. Are you ready? The U.S. government was behind it and is lying to you to cover it up." Now, I would laugh at this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. No more. This makes sense. And he goes through every scandal over the years, the JFK assassination, Waco, 9/11, the WMDs in Iraq, and the Nord Stream pipeline, the laptop. The answer to most of these things has been they knew, they covered it up. Why do we not think they know that SUV-sized drones, why SUV-sized drones are flying over New Jersey and New York and Massachusetts? Why do we assume they don't know? And if they don't know, why not? The simplest explanation is, of course they know. We don't know why they're covering up or why the drones, what they're doing up there. But of course they know, and of course they're lying. And Trump, probably, they prefer he not say that, but they can't stop him. They can't control him. He is the president now. He has everything except the White House. He's not in the Oval Office right now, but he has the control. The country knows it. The world knows it. They're not going to Rehoboth Beach to visit with Joe Biden this week. They're going to Mar-a-Lago. He said he sat down with the CEO of Pfizer and RFK at the same dinner. That must have been interesting. And that must have been a little tense. But hopefully RFK put the fear of God into the Pfizer guy, who is probably not happy. Borla, probably not happy that Joe Biden is leaving the stage, but it's what he got to deal with now. It is Trump time now. Trump is the president. Here he is talking about the wall. Joe Biden, by the way, and we've said this, he's not going to leave with any dignity. Joe Biden is going to be, obviously he's on vacation, on the beach, whatever. He's, AWOL, but he and the people who control him are just getting warmed up. We've told you about the commutations, the pardons, and it's going to get worse. He's pardoned 1,500 people or commuted their sentences. We're going to do one a day, at least one a day, of some of the wonderful people Joe Biden has pardoned. And at the same time, he's not even pretending to be that this is going to be a smooth transition. He's going to try to undermine his successor at every turn. And the best example is selling off the wall. The materials that were sitting there on the ground waiting. He stopped the construction of the wall on day one. And on day one of Trump 2, the construction is going to continue. But Joe Biden is selling the wall, parts of the wall, for pennies on the dollar. And you can see it. The Daily Wire reported, they got video. They're trucking the wall to this auction place, and people are paying pennies on the dollar. Minimum bid for a piece of the wall, $5. And that won't stop the wall, but it will make it more expensive. So Joe Biden is not sticking it to Donald Trump. He's sticking it to the taxpayers. You think Trump's going to say, oh, no, they sold the material? I guess we could forget the wall. Of course not. He's going to build the wall. It's just going to cost more because Joe Biden is such a petty little man that he's trying to find every way he can to undermine his successor. Here's Trump when asked about, and He stopped short of calling it treason, which it is, but he did call it criminal, which it is. Listen to Trump.
But now we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive. And now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it. And if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it. And it'll cost double what it cost years ago. And that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall. I built much more than I said I was going to build. But then after it was built, I said, we can do some more, because it's sort of like water, people flow through. And that will pretty much really take care of it. And what happened is they just, as you see, they're trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar. And that's really, that has nothing to do with a smooth transition. That has to do with people really trying to stop our nation. And all it means really is that we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more, not even talking about the time. The time would be pretty long. But we'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on building the same wall that we already have.
You know what? Here's what has to happen. Obviously, the construction guys are Trump guys. The people who are going to build the wall are Trump guys. Someone should just buy the stuff, and just give it back to the administration. This is just so petty. What's the logic? If Biden were to face questions, answer questions, what would he say? Why are you selling the wall off for pennies on the dollar? Why? Because he wants to do everything he can to hurt Trump in the next 5 weeks. But it's going to continue, even though Joe Biden is sleeping on the beach or on the couch for the next few days. They're going to continue this. We got the latest on Joe Biden's condition, a unbelievable undercover video from James O'Keefe, from someone in the administration. Yes, James O'Keefe had another Tinder date. What do you call gay Tinder? You know that, Ironhead, don't you?
Grinder.
Grinder, yes. Another Grinder date.
I lost a bet once and I had to make an account.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Another Grinder date for James O'Keefe. It's pretty revealing about Joe Biden. And he did take time yesterday, before the bodies were cold, in another school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin, to politicize it. Yes, Joe Biden never the guy who just pardoned his son for gun crimes wants you to know we need more laws to stop mass shootings in schools. We get the latest on the Madison school shooting. And Mitt Romney, I got to give him credit today. I've been killing him for the last 4 years. He threw in the towel. He gave up. He admitted he's a loser. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are the winners, and the Republican Party is just not his party anymore. Time. You don't have to stay here, Mitt, but you got to go. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
Do you wake up in the morning with a sore jaw, headaches, or ringing in your ears from grinding and clenching your teeth at night? I've been through this. It's fairly common, and dentists charge $600 for a bruxism night guard. Many people are now discovering the Brux Night Guard. Unlike regular night guards that go all the way to the back of the teeth, Brux Night Guard only covers the front teeth. This unique design is what sets Brux Night Guard apart from all other guards. It only covers the front teeth, so the bite force is directed away from the back, where many people grind and clench, to help reduce jaw pain and still protect the teeth. You mold it at home to the top and bottom teeth. And unlike other guards, it is made in America and uses 2 materials for added durability. Order a Brux Night Guard today and use the code MAX22 to get 10% off plus free shipping. Go to bruxnightguard.com and enter the code word MAX22. All right. James O'Keefe used to be Project Veritas. Now he's on his own, OMG Media, and his thing is going on dates. Getting online, finding people in positions of power who want to go on a date. And he goes on dates with his hidden camera. I don't know how he does it, but he continues to do it. And he did it yesterday with a member of the National Security Council advisor. Let me get this up. And he talks about the condition. I don't know how these things aren't just the biggest news. I know the rest of the media hates him, so they don't want to cover it. But the guy, his name is Henry Appel. He works for the intelligence program for the NSC, National Security Council, and he's been dealing with Joe Biden of late. And he tells you, he says, Joe Biden is essentially no longer with us. It's a long video. We'll play a minute or two, but check this out.
Here's the team. Joe Biden is like dead. He like cannibal to say so. He's like really like progressed in his holding. Everybody recognized. I can't believe it wasn't a bigger scandal. He'll be dead in a year.
Meet Henry Appel, an advisor for the National Security Council. Henry Appel shared that President Biden had called the NSC White House phone while on a foreign trip looking for NSC advisor Jake Sullivan. Henry told the president that, in fact, Mr. Sullivan was not at the White House, but on the same foreign trip as President Biden.
My boss was on an international trip with him, like Europe or something. The phone rang in the office, and I was like, "Oh, Mr. President, Henry." He was like, "He's safe there." He's like, "No, he's traveling with you. He's on the same trip that you are."
In another encounter with President Biden, Henry Appel from the National Security Council revealed a phone call exchange. On the call, Biden was asking for NSC advisor Jake Sullivan. Henry told Biden that Sullivan had left the office for the day. Biden stated he would call Sullivan's personal phone. Instead, Biden called the same office 10 seconds later, asking for Sullivan again.
A couple weeks ago, I was like the last one in the office. You're going to be called from my boss. And so I picked the phone and said, "Hello, Mr. President. Like, Henry on Jake's phone. He's up for the day, but I can try to get it. I'm one for you." And he like asked me some questions. I was like, "I don't know. Like, let me get the track him down. So all the Secret Service detail." It's like I'll try his like unclassified phone. Like then like 10 seconds later, same phone. I was like, "Hi, he was like, "You stayed there?" I was like, "No, you called the same office."
Henry Appel stated that President Biden did not understand basic words in meetings at the White House.
Another time my boss went in to brief him, and I heard the talking points. I said like, "Oh, this is like a novel phenomenon or something. Like it's new, like it hasn't been done before." My boss said it. I was just like novel? Like, what do you mean, like a book? Like, you mean novel? The two meanings of the word novel, like, he just lost there.
Henry even goes.
That's unbelievable. How far does O'Keefe have to go in these dates? I mean, does he have to walk them home? It is hilarious. The guy's all excited. He thinks he's going to get lucky. Instead, he spills the beans. He said, if you missed it, he said, quote, Joe Biden is dead. And then he said, he's completely lost and he'll be dead, really dead, within a year. The guy who was running for president 6 months ago and telling you he was in the fight, but not really, not anymore. But let's get to the Madison school shooting and Joe Biden's just ghoulish reaction to it. It's incredible. I mean, there was a shooting not that long ago. I seem to remember on the streets of New York, a little rich white Ivy Leaguer gunned down a CEO on the streets of New York, of Manhattan, in the back, shot him in the back. And nobody was immediately screaming for gun control. Nobody. Not Biden, not Liz Warren or AOC. Nobody was saying, oh, guns. It was the gun. We got to get the guns. Somehow this is different. A 15-year-old named Natalie Rupnow, a student at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison. She goes by the name of Samantha. She went in, she had a handgun. She went into the school shooting. 3 people died, including the shooter. Natalie Rupnow. She committed suicide before the cops could take her out. A teacher and a teenage student were not pronounced dead at the scene. 6 other students and a teacher were injured during a mixed grade study hall. 2 students remain in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. This happened at 11 a.m., just before 11 a.m. And it's obviously tragic. This girl had some real issues. She was an angry young feminist who hated men, hated boys, men, said all males should be eliminated, including babies, and the world would be a better place. So she looks angry. I assume she's probably on some SSRIs and been treated for this. We'll know more, like where she got the gun. So Joe Biden comes out immediately, doesn't make a statement. I mean, doesn't make an appearance. He just makes a statement. And of course, he politicizes the thing immediately. I don't even know why this doesn't outrage everybody. I understand there are people who are big gun control supporters, but what gun control measure would you propose that would have stopped this? What? Here's Biden's statement. My administration has taken aggressive action to combat the gun violence epidemic. We passed the most significant gun safety legislation in 30 years. I've taken more executive action to reduce gun violence than any president in history. He says, but more is needed. Congress must pass common sense gun safety laws, universal background checks, a national red flag law, a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. We can never accept senseless violence that traumatizes children. All right, fine. You want to politicize it? Let's politicize it. Which one of these things, which he proposed 6 hours after the shooting, would have stopped this killing? I mean, assault weapons? She used a handgun. A 15-year-old with a handgun is already a criminal. It wasn't her gun. She said cryptically in a message that she got it because of her father's stupidity. Apparently, they had a gun safe in the house, but she got into it and got the gun. Again, we'll know more. The parents apparently let the cops in and let them search, didn't stop, are cooperating. So we'll know more about the gun soon. Universal background checks. How would that have stopped it? I don't think she went through a background check. It wasn't her gun, apparently. She's 15. A national red flag law, high capacity magazines. What the hell does that have to do with this murder? Nothing. So why is it okay to advance your political agenda on the bodies of children and moments, literally hours after the shooting? On the ban on assault weapons? She didn't use an assault weapon. What does that have to do with it? It's like, how about we ban drug addicts we put drug addicts who lie on their gun application in prison. Oh, we can't do that. That would mean Hunter would have to go to prison. This is days, a couple weeks after pardoning his son for gun crimes. And he's talking about we need to enforce the law and prosecute people for gun crimes. The hypocrisy is just staggering from this man. But why is this the time, the place, and where were you 2 weeks ago when a man was gunned down with an illegal gun on the streets of New York? Why didn't we have to hear that now? Why? How has this solved the problem? There's lots of things you could present if you want to politicize it that maybe could solve the problem. A mental health crisis. Maybe this girl was playing violent video games. Maybe she was under the influence of some adults who put these crazy ideas in her head that we should eliminate all males, all men. Where'd she get that from? How about the drugs she was on, the pharmaceuticals? Can we ask about that? Or is it just about assault weapons? That's irrelevant. There are lots of relevant things. There's lots of ways we can discuss what happened here and how we can prevent it. You know what could have prevented it? Metal detectors at the school or armed guards at the school, but we can't talk about that. We just have to talk about the guns. The police chief, as to no surprise, in Madison, is a big liberal. He's a big gun control guy. And he goes in front of the cameras, and this was, probably 2 hours after the shooting. And he's asked about metal. This is the liberal mind at work. No, we can't have metal detectors. Why not? What's the argument against that? Here he is being asked if the school where the shooting just occurred had metal detectors. Go ahead.
What sort of gun-related policies, if any, were in place at the school, and did the school have metal detectors?
I'm not aware that the school had metal detectors, nor should schools have metal detectors. It's a school. It's a safe space.
What? Say that again? It shouldn't have metal detectors because it's a safe space. By the way, it is, of course, a gun-free zone. Another rule the shooter just didn't seem to follow. The police chief said schools should not have metal detectors. I tell you what, metal detectors would go a lot further in stopping crimes like this than an assault weapons ban or a ban on high-capacity magazines. Why can't we talk about that? Why can't we say, the school should have had a metal detector? It's just going to get worse. I mean, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And none of the laws Joe Biden's proposing or the Democrats are proposing will stop it. It'll just be more talk about gun violence because there's just no tragedy they won't exploit. Just amazing. It's a safe space. They just had a mass shooting. 2 people are dead. And this clown says, no, they shouldn't have metal detectors because it's not that safe, Chief. Doesn't appear to be that safe. But we will learn more about Natalie Samantha Rugnow in the coming days. And I guarantee you, none of the things in Joe Biden's statement would have done a damn thing to stop it. All right, before we go on, I want to do this every day. I think I'm going to try. Give you another person. Joe Biden, that man of decency and compassion. Joe Biden was actually out there yesterday talking about Joe Biden's decency and compassion. Quick update on his pardons. It's another one of my favorites. Joe Biden pardoned an Indian-American woman named Meera Sachdeva. She was convicted of defrauding federal insurance programs by submitting false claims to Medicare for chemotherapy services. She was initially sentenced 20 years in order to pay $14 million on charges of healthcare fraud. She's from Mississippi. Again, you know what she did? She withheld chemo from cancer patients. She lied about it. She admitted to billing for chemotherapy drugs that she that she purchased, but didn't give to the proper amount to the patients. So we could just assume people died. A woman she owned and operated a cancer center, and she withheld chemo from patients, some of whom I'm sure passed away. That woman was just pardoned by Joe Biden. Why? We have no idea. No idea. I'm going to do 2 today. We'll do 2. This is a local one here in New England. A woman who was just granted clemency by Joe Biden was sentenced to federal prison for participating in a large-scale fentanyl trafficking conspiracy. Luz Perez de Martinez was one of 1,500 people whose federal sentences were commuted. She was sentenced 5 years ago to 11 years in federal prison for participating in a large-scale fentanyl trafficking conspiracy. She was just pardoned. Her sentence commuted by Joe Biden, a fentanyl dealer. In this day and age, with the scourge of fentanyl, and he lets her walk. I understand you want to pardon some people, and it's what you do. You're setting records. Why her? Why the lady who withheld chemo from cancer patients? What is the logic? We'll never probably never know because he won't answer a question. I would love to know. What makes you want to pardon this guy, the judge who sent kids to prison because he was getting kickbacks and some of those kids killed them? So he sent an 8-year-old kid to a detention center because he was getting kickbacks. That guy is now free to go. Joe Biden pardoned him, and Joe Biden won't tell us why. And it's 34 days to go from this criminal in the White House. All right, we got to get so much more to get to. We got to get to Mitt Romney has conceded. He's thrown in. He gives up. Mitt Romney on his way out the door said he loses. Trump wins. And he said some nice things about J.D. Vance, a guy he said he hates more than anyone in the world just a few weeks ago. Yes, Mitt is taking the L and slinking off into obscurity. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
A large part of managing a business's finances is tedious, repetitive work to ensure accurate bookkeeping. Well, Ramp helps streamline this work, giving business operators more time to focus on what matters most. Are you looking to cut costs and improve your business's bottom line? The best business operators have turned to Ramp to help them stop wasteful spending and improve their finance operations. Ramp is the corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and put money back in your pocket. With Ramp, spend policies are built into the card so you can prevent wasteful spending before it happens. You can customize spending limits and restrictions so employees are empowered to purchase what your business needs, and you can have peace of mind. Ramp plays the bad cop so you don't have to. Detecting policy violations, chasing missing documentation, requesting repayment, and locking cards of non-compliant employees. Ramp's accounting software automatically collects receipts and categorizes your expenses in real time so you don't have to. Say goodbye to manual expense reports. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/Gerry. That's RAMP.com/Gerry. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, terms and conditions apply. Get $250 when you join Ramp. Go to ramp.com/Gerry. All right, small business owners, listen up. If you're tired of losing money to credit card processing fees, we've got something you need to hear. With 24/7 payments, you can eliminate up to 99% of those fees thanks to their fee elimination program. Here's how it works. You pass the processing fees on to customers who pay with credit cards, and in return, you can offer them a discount for paying with cash or debit. It's a simple, effective, and fully compliant way to save thousands every month. Right now, 24/7 Payments is switching over 250 businesses every month to this program, and they can have you set up in less than 24 hours. Call 855-504-0799 today or visit them on the web at 247payments.com. That's the numbers 247payments.com. Joe Biden's selling off the border wall is bad. This is much worse. Here's your latest on Biden's effort to escalate the war in Ukraine before Trump takes the reins and tries to broker peace. This is just breaking this morning. The head of Russia's nuclear, biological, and chemical defense forces, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, was killed along with his deputy early Tuesday in an explosion in Moscow. They killed him in Moscow. It's incredible. Sources tell CBS News that a scooter with explosives was detonated near Kirillov and his assistant outside an apartment building in the Russian capital. Video circulating online appears to show the two men exiting a building right before an electric scooter parked near the entrance blows up. Yes, they killed the head of Russia's chemical and nuclear and biological weapons program in Moscow with a scooter wired with explosives. That's the latest from the Ukraine-Russia war. How does that help? How does that help? In Moscow. You don't do this without the green light from the U.S., at least a knowledge of the U.S. Trump's got his work cut out for him. He promised to end this war before he takes office. He's got 34 days. I'm sure he'll give it his best effort, but man, are Trump and Zelensky trying to undermine him? That's just wrong. I mean, I don't care if he kills Russians, but can't we end this now? Trump promised to end it, and this makes it harder to end it. And God knows what he's got up his sleeve for the next 5 weeks. It is scary, scary time. All right, let's get to my man Mitt. I got to do this because I've been killing Mitt for 4 years, more than 4 years now. He wanted to be Donald Trump's Secretary of State in the first term. Trump said no. And since that day, he's been trying to undermine Trump. I believe he supported the impeachments, at least the second one. He has been an absolute snake for the last 4 years, representing Utah and trying to undermine the Republican president and then candidate, and now soon to be president again. Mitt's gone, thankfully. I'll give him this. He's 77 years old and he looks good, man. But he's got I don't know what he's going to do now, but he certainly has no role in the incoming administration. And he's been bitter about Trump for years. Every chance he gets, he goes on with the fake news and tells you, whatever, Trump's a bad guy. Vance says he's never disliked anyone more than he dislikes J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance is everything he's not. J.D. Vance earned everything he's got. J.D. Vance served in the U.S. military, picked himself up from really, really humbly beginnings and made something of himself. Mitt has had everything handed to him his whole life. Mitt never served. Mitt's kids never served. He loves war, but there's never any Romneys involved in the war. Although one of the Romney kids was involved in Ukraine, making money in Ukraine, probably still is. Mitt goes on CNN and admits Trump wins. The Republican Party is MAGA now, and there's no place for him. Listen to Mitt.
You said in an interview a few months ago that, quote, there's a good chance that the Republican Party is going to need to be rebuilt or reoriented, and that you want to have a voice in the post-Trump Republican Party. Do you think that do you still think there's going to be a post-Trump Republican Party, or is MAGA now the Republican Party?
Oh, MAGA is the Republican Party, and Donald Trump is the Republican Party today. And if you were to ask me who the nominee will be in 2028, I think it'll be J.D. Vance. All right. He's smart, well-spoken, part of the MAGA movement.
You said something pretty harsh about him a few months ago, though. You could not have less respect for somebody than J.D. Vance.
Long ago. I'm not going to rehash history. And we've worked together in the Senate since then. But I that is what the Republican Party is. And will the party need to change? Look, the Republican Party has become the party of the working class, middle class voter. And you've got to give Donald Trump credit for having done that, taken that away from the Democrats. Democrats pushed him out. All right. The Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren faction of the Democrat Party with some of this, defund the police and transgenders and, biological males in women's sports. All these things had a lot of people in the middle class just flee the Democratic Party. They're now Republicans. Now, one of the challenges in my party is that our policies do not necessarily line up with the interests of our voters. And so there'll be some reorientation that's going to be necessary in my party. The Democrat Party is the one in trouble. I don't know how they recover. I'm not going to tell them what to do because I would begin to have the capacity to do so. But they've lost their base. Union guys and gals have left the Democratic Party and are voting.
Wow. It's over. Mitt concedes defeat. Mitt waves the white flag. That is great to see. That is great. I don't know what he's going to do now. There's no place for him in the administration. There's no future for him in politics. Even though he looks young, it's all over for Mitt, and it's great to see. How'd that work out for you, Mitt, turning on Trump? You probably would have a place in administration if you had been a good MAGA guy. But you went the route of Liz Cheney, and now you're off in the wilderness with Liz. But good to see. All right, before we move on, before we wrap this up, I want to get to a couple of things. Just quickly, this poll, I just sent it to Ironhead. This poll is incredible. And Wokeness posted it. What has happened to young people in this country? I know that Trump set records with young people, a few weeks ago. But this poll just boggles my mind. They did a poll about the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, cold-blooded murder of an innocent man, a father of two. This poll says among 18 to 29-year-olds, 41% say the killing is acceptable. 40% say it's unacceptable. More young people think it's acceptable to assassinate a CEO. I'd love for one of them to explain why. Oh, because health insurance companies suck. Why? What did Brian Thompson do to deserve death on the streets of New York? And they look at, these are the people who were cheering at that concert in Boston when they put Luigi's Mangione's face up on the screen. Man, we have some work to do when young people think it's acceptable. So the next someone assassinates another evil executive, they're going to applaud that too. They're going to applaud if some guy who say you don't like the casino industry, you shoot some CEO of a gambling company, you go, oh, that's good, gambling's bad. Or some cigarette company or cannabis executive. I mean, you're just going to pick and choose which executives I don't like. Yeah, he deserves to die. This is a sickness in our country right now that they look at that. I don't know how we got here. I don't ever remember this twisted mindset that it's okay to kill an executive because you don't like. By the way, most people like their health insurance. They think the health insurance industry is evil, but they're okay with their health insurance. The polls show. But a CEO, a 50-year-old guy with children, you don't know anything about him, but you think it's acceptable that he's assassinated on the streets of New York. Just sick. Speaking of sick, before we get to Ketanji Brown Jackson, I want to get to this thing that I posted this morning. Obviously this is Massachusetts. We are an outlier. We are insane, but it's still happening. This is from a high school in Massachusetts called Newton South, big high school. This is the week before Christmas. I remember this when I was a kid. It was Christmas. You had Christmas decorations in your school. People exchanged gifts and cards, and you had Christmas parties. You celebrated this time of the season. Here's what they do now in our education system. Newton South, this is an actual, I don't know if it's a press release, but it went out to the families, to the students. Newton South's Gender and Sexuality Awareness Club and Gender Equity Club, these are kids, are proud to present this year's LGBTQ Awareness Day on Wednesday, December 18th. Programming will take place throughout the day. Teachers can sign up to bring their classes each block. Students who may not be ready to engage with this material can be dismissed. Well, that's good. Here's what they're going to do. C block, teacher staff panel, an inspiring panel with teachers and staff as they share their experiences as queer educators. So you're going to get 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, and the teachers are going to share their experiences as queer educators. Next, Queer Jeopardy. Test your knowledge of LGBTQ history and trivia with a Jeopardy game. Winners get candy. So they still have candy for Christmas, but you only get it if you're well-versed in LGBTQ history. What the hell is going on? E-Block, the history of queer media. Explore the rich 130-year-long history of queer people in digital media, modern-day trends and phenomena, and our bright future, the bright future of queer media. This is not some crazy, club for adults. This is high school. This is what they're doing. Christmas week, they're playing Queer Jeopardy for kids. Again, you can do this. Go nuts. You're queer. Have fun. Do what you want. Leave the kids alone. This is insane. I tweeted it out and tagged Libs of TikTok. We'll see if she picks it up. She should. All right. Before we go, we have discussed many, many times who's the worst DEI hire of the Biden administration. Usually we thought KJP, the incompetent press secretary whose job it is to lie for Joe Biden. And then Kamala Harris made a good run in the last year. But you know what? I think we have to all agree that Ketanji Brown Jackson could be the worst because she has a seat for life. She's going to be on the Supreme Court for the next, 30, 40 years. And she finally achieved her dream. Her dream, wasn't to be on the Supreme Court. Her dream was to play on Broadway, to make it to Broadway. This is an actual, speaking of queer awareness, there's like a queer version of Romeo and Juliet where Juliet doesn't die. Juliet lives happily ever after as a queer whatever.
I was going to say, some people call that version Romeo and Juliet.
Right. And I don't know what role she plays. I can't get, every time I see this, I think, I never knew she was a dwarf. Did you know Ketanji Brown Jackson was 3 feet tall? I wasn't aware of that. I guess I usually see her sitting down, but here she is, finally achieving her dream, making it to Broadway. This is a sitting Supreme Court justice. Go ahead.
Female empowerment. Sick. I like it too. I think what I like about it is that I am having a very strongly negative reaction to it. Like I hate it. Which makes me think it must be brilliant. Feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. I did it. I made it to Broadway.
Wow. I don't know what to say. Once again, thank God for November 5th. Joe Biden will not be making any more nominations to the Supreme Court. Those are over. We will not see another Ketanji Brown Jackson anytime soon, but she's not going anywhere. She's going to be on the court for the rest of her life. God, that is scary. That's the best. I mean, I understand he wanted to make a DEI nomination. He wanted a black woman. He promised that he would nominate a black woman. That's the best he could find. That's the best he could do. That is just embarrassing. Totally embarrassing. All right, we got to wrap this up. 34 days. Forget the 34. No more countdown. Donald Trump is our president. He has essentially assumed office yesterday. Yes, it happened. And Joe Biden just went off into obscurity for the next 5 weeks, as it should be. But we will leave it there for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Is she crazy?
Thank you. Thank you
Wow.
all. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, too many.